All right, then let's go.
Alicia here, out for a walk with my dog, Reenie. Reenie's my little scraggly Muppet. She's a Terrier Schnauzer mix, and she loves to roll in the grass. This is Sustainable Events Dog Walk, a short podcast from Positive Impact Event Consulting, where you can get a quick nugget about sustainability for your events and event business while on a walk with Alicia and her dog, Reenie. Sustainability is a big project, but we'll get there together, one little step at a time. Today, I want to do another 4-pillar review. It is October. It is perfect in Seattle. So let's do a 4-pillar review today on transportation. Now, I am hoping to pretty much immediately blow your mind because I'm not here to be serving you up hot takes that make your life worse. So here goes nothing. A 4-pillar review, the premise is to use this as a practice exercise to practice the idea of the mental rehearsal of when you're looking at an area of your event or a decision to spin through your 4 pillars of sustainability: environmental, social and community, personal health and well-being, and economic, and make sure there's no easy wins or opportunities or considerations that you need to take into account before you lay down your decision or when you're looking for vendors, etc. When we look at a 4-pillar review for transportation, I know everyone is expecting me to say things like, quit having cars and buses, quit flying, quit having destinations. But guess what? This is a realism podcast, and I'm not going to say those things. First of all, before we even get into the 4 pillars, I'm going to say, as long as you're not chartering private jets, and then if you are, fill them up. That's the key. But as long as you're not chartering private jets, whatever air travel you need to do for your business, I'm going to say is more likely than not a choice about economic sustainability, and I'm going to leave that to you. I don't think telling event professionals to take fewer flights is a thing that's going to change the world. So let's just get that off the table right now. Also, my most favorite hobby is to take an annual trip to someplace else around the world to broaden my perspective and to experience new things. And I think that there's a lot of worse things that go on in the world that I'm railing against, and that's not going to be the needle mover. Of course, there's going to be people who specialize in this who probably don't love that perspective, but I'm willing to take the gamble on that. This will not be an exhaustive list of the areas in each of the 4 pillars that apply to this topic. It is merely an example of how to run through and give some consideration. So I'm going to give 1 or 2 examples for each area. It's not going to be exhaustive. The point is not to be exhaustive. So today, as a mental challenge to myself, I'm going to do the 4 pillars in reverse order just for funsies. So, economic sustainability. When you're looking at transportation, how can you consider economic sustainability? An example of something I've seen that is excellent is locally in Seattle, the basketball and hockey arena, sponsored by Amazon, the Climate Pledge Arena, has a partnership with local public transit and gives transit passes to ticket holders at their venue for big events. This is not necessarily going to be possible for everyone, but it's a great idea of how do you work with the local economic system to incentivize public transit and reduce driving and parking. Similarly, if you can, for any special events within your, for instance, conference, if you're hosting something, if you can get local train or commuter tickets for everyone to get to that event and be partnering with the local public transit, the likelihood is pretty good that you can create some sort of a deal and be spotlighting that service. And that's keeping your money in the local economy and going toward local projects like public transit that are really beneficial. And the other thing I'll say for the 4-pillar review, this is a brain exercise. This is a rehearsal to get you into this automatic mode of running through these 4 considerations. But sometimes it's cool to come out with a bit of a lofty goal. You might not have the sway of Climate Pledge Arena with local transit to get a group purchase deal, but it doesn't hurt to try, and it doesn't hurt to have a big goal like that and say that, someday we'd love to be able to put this in our marketing that we achieved that. Next will be personal health and well-being. For personal health, keep an eye on your transportation with regards to when people should be opting in to transportation. Having a way to evaluate and let people evaluate for themselves when is a good time to be exerting their personal energy and when is not. I am an able-bodied person and I want to walk around the city I'm in or between things as often as I can. I don't necessarily want to be using transit options if there's a leisurely tourism walk to be had, but for people who have a limited amount of energy, who need to be budgeting that, having information and facilitating them to understand how long distances really are, how hilly they are, things like that, to be able to say we have alternatives available if you need transit, and really making that all very clear so that people can advocate for themselves. It's more about giving people all the information they need to advocate for their own personal health. Next, we have community and social sustainability. Now, in a lot of cases, personal health and community have overlaps, and this, I think, is going to be one of them. When it comes to personal health, it's a matter of giving people the information they need to advocate for their own body. When it comes to community sustainability for transportation, it comes in making sure that you have made the considerations so that everyone has accessibility, access, and inclusivity to your event. And part of that is communication and making sure they understand what is available and that they understand how to indicate what they need to you, not leaving that up to people as, oh, well, you are the person with the needs, you should have experience in how to let people know about those needs. That's not a very good attitude to have. Instead, making it clear how and when people should be sharing their needs and with regards to what topics, for instance, transportation, if there will be bus services or airport shuttles or things like that, indicating to a way for people to let you know if they have additional equipment, if they have wheelchair needs, what sort of questions you need to be asking. So you need to take some time to think through what you're going to have and what scenarios might change your plan. There's even in large convention centers sometimes services provided for people who can't do 3 miles inside a convention hall to be able to rent or borrow mobility devices. Finding that out in advance, publishing access to that information so that people who, for any reason, want to research about that can. And it's not your job to know why they might need it. It's your job to know how to get the best answers for people who need answers. And then lastly, when we talk about environmental sustainability for your transportation, obviously, if you have the budget and they are available in your community, using newer vehicles that are going to be governed by more pollution constriction laws and things like that is going to be for the best. Optimizing for reducing gasoline transportation is the best. And this is where I'm going to finally get back to my other favorite topic, which is this is where I'm going to advocate that you work with your transportation specialists, bring them as much information as you possibly can to allow them to use their expertise to reduce idling, maximize efficiency, make everything as easy as possible and as healthy as possible for the attendees, the environment, the driver, because they have infinite experience. And if you can provide them enough information, they can optimize your experience. And letting your service providers know optimizing for environmental sustainability is a priority of ours. It makes their lives a lot easier than if they had no way of knowing. So there you have it, the 4-pillar review for transportation: environmental, community and social, personal health and well-being, and economic. It's always about giving that extra 10 seconds of consideration. That's what we're aiming for. Better is what we're aiming for. Talking to your vendors so they understand your goals is what we're aiming for. I'm not trying to get everyone who listens to this podcast from 100% to net zero overnight. So if you have any questions or follow-ups or ideas, I would love to hear them. You can get a hold of me through the details in the podcast description, and I'll be back next week with more sustainable tips, tricks, ideas, resources, and inspiration. Enjoy the fall weather. Thanks for joining me on Sustainable Events Dog Walk. I'm Alicia Drewby, founder of Positive Impact Event Consulting, and I want to help you integrate sustainability into your event business so you're ready to make every event you work on more sustainable. See you next time.